How helpful was the bye for Michael, not just to come off the performance that he did against Michigan State, but to be able to kind of carry maybe the confidence of that performance into the bye week, to have the time to really, kind of diagnose or whatever you want to say the work he's done so far this season, and to rest a little bit more with obviously the shoulder injury.
Right. No, I think the bye was critical for Mike. I think it was critical for our whole team, and I know offensively it was critical for us. You look at, it's only 5 games through the season, but when you look at fall camp and the grind that's just been nonstop for them, it's over 2 months. So it was really important for us to have that, and I think Mike continued to rehab, and that's going to be a constant theme all season. That's not going to end. I'm not going to let it end. I think that as far as being a mature football player, college football player at this level, it's not just him, but all the guys are going to have bumps and bruises, and even if they don't, they need to continue to do things to keep their body fresh and bring it back after big games, especially like the physical one we played on last Saturday against Michigan State.
One common thread to this offense through Michael and Peyton has been kind of quarterback accuracy. How have you kind of designed the offense to make those high percentage throws, and how important is that going to be kind of going forward? Yeah,
I think it's really important. We have a lot of playmakers that, you give them a chance. Sooner or later, they're gonna bust them, and I was really excited about what Wap did with the ball in his hands, and I thought guys like D. Hale, he made competitive catches, but he also fought for yards after the catch. David Ellis, I think it was one catch, but critical time, critical point in the red zone, and for those guys just to get the ball accurately to their playmakers is really important. It gives us just more chances to keep the chains moving, to stay ahead of the chains, and just have the whole playbook really available to us in those manageable down and distances. And when we get into third downs and shorts, you see the result of being 6 for 13. I think in that game against Michigan State, it's because of the first and second down why we're so successful on third down in games like that. So, I'm really pleased with what they're doing. It shows that they understand the reads and are working, away from the facility here to understand what they're going to see on Saturday. And, it's all coming together. It's trust and belief in their teammates that the protection is going to be there, that the receivers and running backs are going to be, and tight ends are going to be open at the right time. So, it's just something we'll continue to build on. I know when we build a game plan, I thought the offensive staff did an amazing job of taking all those things into consideration. How we're going to get the ball to the playmakers out in space and let them work. And, I felt really comfortable going into last Saturday, that we had the tools within the game plan to be able to disperse the ball and let guys go make plays.
Coach, I know you've had a lot of success before coming to Indiana, but now a couple games into the Big Ten season, have you been able to maintain pretty much how you call games with the Big Ten Conference, or has there been some adjustment for you?
I think it's the same. I guess, are you talking like the rhythm of the game, or like even the procedures of it? Yeah, I think that everything's been exactly how I've done it in the past as far as how I call the game. It really is football, and you want to be ahead of the chains and all the things I kind of just talked about to give yourself the chance to throw play action, because you're in a second and favorable, and even if it doesn't hit, you're in a third and manageable to convert. So, first down is always super critical to us, and so I think everything that we've done has been consistent with how I've done it in the past.
Coach, I know during the game you're not thinking about completions and stats and all that, but was there a point Saturday where you were like, wow, we haven't thrown one in a while, when he was in that streak? And how impressed were you with not only Michael, but the receivers and the routes they were running, and just the whole unit was really kind of clicking? I mean, how pleasing was that for you as an O coordinator?
Yeah, I didn't even realize there was a streak until we were heading back and it kind of then was told about it. So, but I knew that we were in a good groove, and I knew that we were seeing it well. I knew that there was a good rhythm to what we were doing. And what I really I just put it on the guys that they were doing what they were supposed to do and executing. We weren't asking them to do anything beyond their capabilities and abilities that they have. And it's a credit to the talent we have and them just being locked in the moment and not being concerned about what the score was, who we were playing, just playing football the best that they could play it. And when you do that, throwing and catching the ball, and you just really break it down to catch it first and then go make a play. We had one drop the entire game, and that was right at the end. We had one sack at the very end, and that was on a screen pass. That was covered well. And so, you look at we had a couple penalties, false starts. We actually overcame 2 of the 3, I think, in drives. And then the only turnover we had was the very last play of the game. And so guys, I think, just really honed in on the moment and didn't get overwhelmed with anything, and just trusted the plan, trusted each other, and just executed. And I think as far as win, I think it was that third quarter was really, I think, riding the momentum that we had in the second quarter and just kind of slowly kind of feeling it out and being methodical, and then finding our times when we could hit some explosive plays. But kind of there in the third quarter when we scored the field goal, I think we went 80-some yards, 81 yards, got a field goal, and kind of, looked at the clock and half of the quarter was over, and realized that, hey, that was a good drive. We're still behind, but that was a good drive. And got a chance to do it again and take the lead there going into the fourth quarter, or right at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Then I knew we had a good chance. Really, it was really probably the most comfortable I've been with our guys, trusting that they're going to be lined up properly, that they're going to motion properly, that, and I was able to really hone in on what the coverages that we were seeing, the defense that we were seeing, rather than worried about what our guys were going to do or not do, and so there was a lot of trust even on my end towards the offense, and that was really exciting kind of when you look back on it.
You mentioned protection earlier. I know you can't just remove the Ohio State game, but you've been one of the best Big Ten teams through the first 5 weeks in terms of sacks allowed, and obviously a lot of those just came in one game. What, to your mind, has kept the pocket clean, and maybe how important has a quarterback's role been in communicating with his line and picking things up?
Right. Yeah. I think it first starts with the understanding of how we need to pick up blitzes and how we need to pick up, the fronts that we're seeing. And so that starts with Coach Hiller and Coach Hart, identifying the things that we need to make sure we're mindful of. And then the quarterback, like you said, communicating to the offensive line and them all being on the same page along with the running back. And so I think we've been really good with that part of it in the communication. In fact, I can't even think of one off the top of my head. I'm sure there is one where we have made the wrong protection check. I think we've been really good. And if we've made one, it hasn't hurt us. The blitz hasn't come, or, it didn't get home and we got rid of it quick. But I think then there's the other part to it. Our quarterbacks knowing where they can get rid of the football quickly, because we've had pressure. I mean, every team in the Big Ten is going to have some pressure. There's some really good defenses out there, really good defensive fronts. And so we've had pressure, but our quarterbacks have been, able to be confident that the receiver is going to break his route here, or, this is my first read and this is where I can throw it quickly if I need to. And so everyone's been on the same page, and, I know that's always been important to me is not have negative plays, because negative plays all of a sudden lead in those, in the end, third and long situations. So I preach that a lot. I make sure we got a lot of ways to get rid of the football quick when we get in those situations where the pass rush is maybe a little heavier than what the quarterback might be comfortable with.
You talk about trust in your players. Obviously, you had a freshman left tackle in against Michigan State. I mean, what did you see from Matthew Bedford in that performance, and how much more trust do you have in him after watching that? Yeah,
I think it was a critical game for him just to build confidence in himself, to show not just to his teammates, but even prove to himself that he can do it. And was really excited watching the film too. I mean, you're going to make mistakes, but his mistakes were minimal, and there were more technical things than anything. So it wasn't like he had really blown assignments or anything like that. So it was really exciting to see him grow and the confidence that he has, and how just in 1 week he's like a different person, and that's really cool. And we knew as a staff that he's going to be a special player for us here. And it's unfortunate it has to happen because of the Coy situation, but it's also cool on the other end to see a guy kind of realize, whoa, I am able to play at this level, and I am able to do some things. And there were some times where he was the reason why we were successful too, especially in the run game. There was a time I can remember where it was a second down call where we ran the football, and I knew that this was a time where Matt's strength was going to help us have success on this play. So I'm actually thinking about that after the call's made. I'm like very confident that if we have to run behind him, or if that's where the ball goes, it was going to be a good play. So it's pretty cool. You're not just worried about what he's not capable of doing, but also the strength he can give you in certain plays and certain concepts.
You've obviously had, since January to get to know the guys, but your ability to kind of communicate with them, and how has the buy-in been, and how has that process kind of evolved to now to where you're getting guys to execute?
Yeah, I think last Monday was probably the most locked in. I haven't even told them this, but I told the staff this. I thought it was the most locked in I've ever seen them, and that's after a loss. And so I think it just shows that they're becoming more confident in who we are. And I mean, it's a process, and we're only as good as our last game, and the next one's coming up here really fast. So we got to start all over, and there's nothing that carries over. There's no points, there's no yards that carry over from last week's game to this next one coming up. And so I put a lot of it on the preparation that those guys had throughout the week to be ready. And we're no different than any other team. You can go out there, and if you're not focused and locked in and understanding and trusting each other, a practice could be a disaster. But when guys are locked in, like we were on last Saturday, we can show what we're capable of doing, and it's playing at a high level. And so just riding the momentum and riding the confidence that I think that we've had, not just from last week, but I think it's been happening since the Ball State game. I really do believe that. I know it didn't show up in the Ohio State game like we'd hoped, but I think there was progress in the Eastern Illinois game as far as the efficiency concerned. We're still working on the run game at that point. We worked on the run game even more going to Ohio State. It didn't come to fruition just because of how the game played out, but you started seeing it really happen off run, pass, kind of balance start to happen in the UConn game. And we're not going to lose sight, and we're never going to feel comfortable or feel like we've arrived. We're just going to keep moving forward one day at a time, and we know there's going to be setbacks and there's going to be obstacles that come our way. We're just got to stay the course and keep trusting and believing.
When you have a guy like Wap, who's maybe more willing punt returner than most, how do you kind of strike the balance, or were there any discussions had between letting him do punt returns and also still being such a key part of the offense?
Yeah, I mean, offensively is what I'm concerned with, and in any way he can help the team by getting his hands on the ball, I'm all for it. If he can put points on the board through a punt return, any type of return, I'm all for that, because that's field position, and between he and David Ellis, in those areas, I'm optimistic that we're going to get the ball in good field position, and so any way Wap can help us, I know he wants to do it and enjoys that. So let him fly, let him have the ball.
Coach, you mentioned the run game. I know against a defense like Michigan State, 150, 200 yards and 5 yards a pop is not really realistic. But it seemed like you guys maybe got that physicality that you've been looking for, and you were able to pop a few runs and kind of keep them honest defensively.
Yes.
Did you kind of feel that way after watching the film?
I do. I think that was key. Like you said, there's no eye-popping stats that were going to come about from that game, from our end running the football when you look back on it. But I think there was enough of a run game that opened up some things for us, in the pass game, and allowed us to have maybe not balance statistically, but balance, with run to pass and enough of a threat to where guys were pulling to the box and opening up guys like Wap on the perimeter. I think D. Hale took advantage of that a time or two, as well as some of our tight ends. So I think there were some guys pulling to the box because of some play action looks that created some space out on the perimeter. So there's no doubt that I think we improved, even though statistically maybe it didn't show, and that's going to continue to be a focus. We got to continue to get better as the year goes on, and we face more really good defenses, and because of the season change, and it gets colder out, we know we still have to improve. And you got a guy like Stevie Scott, Ronnie Walker, Sampson, as well. All three of those guys can carry it for us, and between them and the offensive line, we've got to continue to develop and grow.